Hello viewers. So in this video we will continue with the rest of the part of chapter 1, a letter to God. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope, help from God. So all the people who lived in Lenjo's house, they had only one hope, that was help from God. Lenjo and all other family members believed that God will surely help them in this, because God will surely see their condition and He will surely offer His help to them. So don't be so upset, even though this seems like a total loss. Remember, no one dies of hunger. So there says that you should not be upset over such things. Disasters will come, but we should always stay positive. We should not be upset. Don't be so upset, even though this seems like a total loss. We have seen any suicides committed by farmers. Why? Because they get upset easily, isn't it? Suicide is not a remedy for anything. So in this chapter, because of his deep faith in God, he and his family members are able to overcome that disastrous situation. Here comes the strength of one's belief in God. So remember, no one dies of hunger. They says that's what they say. No one dies of hunger. They say to each other that no one is going to die because of hunger, isn't it? People can live by drinking water also. No one dies of hunger. So this is not a problem at all. We should move forward. Surely God will help. All through the night, Lenjo thought only of his one hope, the help of God. So this Lenjo, he was very sure that his dear God will help him, isn't it? His God will never leave him alone. He will surely help him. So the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. So Lenjo was taught that God is a person who sees everything. God is an Almighty who sees everything. He can understand what all is going inside our heart, what all is going inside our soul, what all things we are expecting to say, and what all sufferings we are undergoing. God knows all these things. We can't hide anything from God's presence. So Lenjo had firm faith in getting help from God. Lenjo was an ox of a man. What do you mean by ox of a man? Ox of a man means he was a very strong person. He was a very hard-working, powerful person. He works very hard in his field, isn't it? He was a very hard-working person. So he works like an ox. How does an ox work in field? In the same way, he was a very hard-working person. He was not at all lazy. He worked hard from morning till evening. So Lenjo was an ox of a man, working like an animal in the fields, but still he knew how to write. Although Lenjo was a farmer, he was educated. He knows how to write. The following Sunday, at daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. So the following Sunday, what did Lenjo do? At daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry. So Lenjo wrote a letter and he himself carried the letter and placed it in the mail. He posted the letter and it was nothing less than a letter to God. So Lenjo was so sure that God is present, God is seeing his disasters, seeing his difficulties. God is with him at times of loss. he was very sure that God was with him. So what did he do? He wrote a letter to God. God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. Yeah, he made his attitude clear, isn't it? He wrote a letter to God. He said, dear God, if you don't help me, surely my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos. So just as if he is asking a human being, he writes a letter to God and he asks God for some money. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes. Because the hailstorm. See, he's telling, I worked hard, isn't it? He was not an ideal person. But he told, I worked hard, but what happened? Because of this hailstorm, all went. So I need 100 pesos. Why does he need that much money? He need 100 pesos to sow his field again and to live until the crop comes. So he had to live till he get again a good harvest. So till that time he needs money. So the only help is from God, and he's asking God for 100 pesos. He wrote to God on the envelope. He don't know the address of God, so he knows he had belief that this particular letter will really reach God. So what did he do? He just wrote to God on top of the envelope. He wrote to God on the envelope. Put the letter inside, and still troubled went to town. He put the letter in the mailbox, but still he was very troubled, very unsatisfied. And he went to town. At the post office, he placed the stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. But what had he done in the post office? He placed the stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss laughing heartily and showing him the letter to God. So one of the employees, what did they do? He was a postman and he also did some help in the post office. He took this letter and he went to his boss and showed him this letter. See, a person had written a letter to God. So what happened again? Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. So this postman don't know that address. Why? That address is to God, isn't it? In his career he haven't seen such a letter, so he don't know where to give this letter. So he took it to his boss, the postmaster. So his boss was the postmaster, and what type of a person was he? It's written here, he was a fat person, fat, amiable. What does it mean by amiable? A very friendly and pleasant person. There are people who are very friendly always, isn't it? And a very happy-go-lucky type person. And he was a pleasant person. He was a pleasant fellow. Also broke out laughing. This postmaster also, when he saw this letter, he also broke out laughing. But almost immediately he turned serious. So suddenly this postmaster, he became very serious. He thought about something, isn't it? He thought about something, and suddenly when that thoughts came to his mind, he thought about something, and when that thoughts came to his mind, what did he do? He suddenly became serious. So what did he say again? and tapping the letter on his desk commented. He just tapped the letter on the desk and he passed a comment. What was it? What faith! Hey, that fellow is having very big faith. What faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter, starting up a correspondence with God. So the postmaster said, see, I'm really shocked seeing this letter. I haven't seen such a letter in my life. What faith that person has. He is a firm believer of God. And this postmaster says he wished to get that faith of that particular person who wrote this letter. That is, that particular person, he is starting up a correspondence with God. That is, writing letter to God. So when we write a letter to the other person, you are also expecting a letter back, isn't it? So that is correspondence. So starting a correspondence with God. So in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea. Answer the letter. So he haven't seen such deep faith. So the postmaster was very impressed by Lenjo's letter, and he said, we should not break the faith of this good man. He is a deep believer in God. We should not shake his faith. So what should we do? We should answer the letter. We should give answer to his letter. But when he opened it, it was evident. Evident means it was very clear that to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill. See, to answer the letter which was written by Lenjo, that particular postmaster, he needed something more than just a goodwill. What was it? He not only need goodwill, ink and paper, but he stuck to his resolution. He asked for money from his employees. So that particular person was asking for some money. But the postmaster was not able to change his mind. He was firm in his decision. He decided to help that particular person who asked money to God. So his resolution, he had a firm decision, and he was not going to give up, and he was very firm in his decision to help this particular person. So he told, surely we will help him, and he asked for money from his employees. He asked his employees to collect some money. He asked his employees to collect some money. And what did he do? He himself gave part of his salary for this purpose. He himself gave a part of his salary for this particular purpose. And several friends of his were obliged to give something for such an act, isn't it? And several of his friends were very happy to help this man. They were obliged to give what? To give money to help this particular person. So they collected all this money, and with the help of his friends who were ready to do this charity, isn't it? So several friends of his were helpful. Why? Were obliged to give something for an act of charity. But there are some boxes in some shops. When you go, you will see they kept there to put money for charity purpose, isn't it? We don't know whether to reach that particular charity center, we don't know that, but there are boxes, isn't it, kept for various charity purposes. Might be they will give them. People are not so rude in this world. There are many good people. So surely they might give. Similarly, these friends of this postmaster, they were ready to give some money for an act of charity. it was impossible for him to gather the 100 pesos. But altogether they were not able to collect 100 pesos. So, and just as this particular person asked, so he was able to send the farmer only a little, excuse me, only a little more than half. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Lenjo and with a letter containing only a single word as a signature, God. So he was not able to give 100 pesos, but he gave someone near amount, put it in an envelope, and he wrote what address he addressed to Lenjo. Two address in the two address part there was the address of Lenjo, and the from address part, what was it written? Only God. They only signed as God. There was only the signature of God. Just wrote the word God. There was no other address because the particular person had written only to God and they replied writing from God. So, I hope you all understood this much part, these parts which I am explaining. You might be looking in the textbook while I am explaining it. I hope it's clear, and I will give the explanation in Malayalam also in the next video.